Hello, my Teaserking family. Little nap, and let's do some economics. So gold closed for the week at 2,500. Just tried a little derivative. Look out for that. Um, Silver's back at 27.93. So we know that's bullshit. So again, the frustration of what's going on. Why are we? Hello, my Teaser King family. I know I say sometimes the clock doesn't start. I think. Um, so we know it's derivatives, but we know gold's much higher. I bought my gold ounce again today. This is a quarter ounce, 722. I didn't even I didn't blink an eye. I just assumed it'd be 700. And excuse me while I eat my omelet. I assumed 2,700. Or it was 26.22 for the ounce. I assumed 700 for the quarter. It was 722. I didn't care. It's not about that. It's about accumulating the gold, not, oh, I can get it for 690 or seven. This is what they have at this price. Do you want gold or do you want to keep the dollars? So I took the gold. So anyway, that's where we're at with it. So happy to get it. Again, you're not going to find it. He didn't have any ounces. He had about 3 half ounces, 3/4 ounces, about 5/10 of an ounces, and then some strange 10th of an ounce that I don't know what it was. And this 20th kilogram gold bar. So it was more than, I think it was more than a half, or more than a quarter. I don't know. It was somewhere, it was just a little bit more. Hey, Pat, how are you? So we got Mark McGuire tonight. I think you'll like what he's saying. October 22nd, still on. Like I say, I did my part for the team and the quarter ounce. Another add the quarter ounce. And just keep adding and adding as much as I can. I want to buy an ounce or a couple ounces. He didn't have any, but I wasn't prepared with 26.22 for an ounce of US, about 2,600 for an ounce of maple leaf or Cougaran. So not prepared for that right now. Again, I'm kind of in the middle with my money. That's, you just keep adding. You know what's coming. You know the banks are going to crash. You know the dollar's going out. There's really nothing that can stop this from going to zero. So put it simply, now that I have one, what do you rather have? This, which is probably worthless, or this, which is going up every month. It's going up in value. I told the guy this will be 3,000. I'm not, or the ounce, gold's going to 3,000 spot, and we're very confident in that, and it's very realistic. So it's only going up. So you buy it now. I'm not buying it because gold's at 2,500 going to 3,000. I'm going at it because this is worthless. You're leaving me no alternative. I can't be in this and I can't be in that. These are worthless. So it's not like I want to sell this to buy brics or buy euro, because gold checkmates both of them. So therefore, there's really no question about what to get into because of all the paper currency is going out. So it's not even a question of buying gold. It's how much can you afford is the real question. And I'm close with my money. I could buy a couple more ounces and leave myself no money. And then if I have to, sell my gold to get money. But I don't want to sell my gold at only 2,500 or 3,000 an ounce. Maybe at about 10,000 an ounce. But that's the thing. I know it's going up there, so I really don't want to sell the gold at these cheap prices if I don't have to. So the longer I hold my dollars, it gives me the bridge of using my dollars, but not using my gold. So that's really what I'm at. Again, the assets you have, will be fine. They'll just get replaced and valued in gold. Just like now when people take the gold to the store and they get dollars for it, this is what happens, right? They need the currency. They take the gold, which has a value, and they sell it and get 2,500 for their ounces or whatever. And they're okay, I was able to get the currency, and that's what we're going to do. You can take the Mahomes card and get whatever the currency is. If it's gold-backed currency, if it's USD number 2, this will keep its value. We don't know what it'll be in gold, but we know it doesn't matter. We know it'll have a value. People will take it, but we might have to do it on eBay versus going into the coin store saying, hey, I got gold. Can you buy it? And that's where we're headed to. So the more assets you have, Rolex, Mantle cards, Van Goghs, nice pictures, the more of those you have, will all go to zero in dollars. So basically, as this collapse, how do you value anything? How do you value a house? Well, it's worth $500,000, but the dollar has no value. 500,000 times zero is zero. Your house is worth zero in dollars. But this will be the new currency. So now what's your house worth? Your house is worth so many of these because this takes over as the currency because this is real and can't be printed to death, which is really the key. This gets printed. You printed 150 trillion of these, far more than what you needed, versus this, which you can't print. So this can't lose its value. And then demand will go in. All the central banks are buying it, and brics will come out October 22nd. And when brics comes out, do you want the dollar? What do you want? Do you want the dollar or do you want this? Everybody will want this, driving the price much higher. So we're sitting fine. It's as much as that as you can buy. So I'm sitting at the gold store, and I rush to buy this because I want to make sure there's a quarter ounce. I don't care what that's 720. I don't care. I get there's a quarter ounces for me. I'm buying. So I pay for it, and I go back to the gold area, and I like to look at the family and see what he's got and see the prices. And this kid's buying from this old lady, and I hate the old lady. And she looks at me like, "Oh, well, are you listening to our conversation?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm just curious what's going on." And I'm looking at the gold and silver. She says, well, look, you're in the middle of the store, as far as I'm concerned. If you're at the grocery store or the gold store, it's not a private conversation. You want a private conversation, go into an office, close the door. If you're in the middle of Kroger's and you're buying a milk and you're talking about something, that's a public conversation. If I listen, so she says, well, it's not your business. I go, I don't really care what you're doing. I'm looking at the gold and silver, and this is a store. Like I said, Well, if you got a problem with me, go talk to the owner. I just talked to him. He likes me, so I don't know. What are you talking about? So I don't know. This woman doesn't like me for some reason. She's really strange. Obviously a liberal, Keynesian. Not sure why she's working at a gold store, and she really is not a people person. So I'm just like seeing what the guy's doing. He bought a Cougaran, and I don't know if he was buying or selling. And then there was a bar. The lady goes, "Are you interested in the bar?" And I go, "Not really. I'm just seeing what's going on." As if when I bought my quarter ounce, people could see what I was doing. I'm not aware of people, and if they listen in or not, I'm sure they listen in to me all the time. And I go, "Well, I don't care." Again, if it's you're in the middle of a store, if you want a private conversation, then I suggest going to an office. But if you're going to sit there in the middle of a store, I suggest that you understand you're not getting a private conversation. I mean, can you imagine that? You're sitting at a gold store and the guy's buying gold. Of course, you're going to kind of be a little curious what he's doing. So I just sat there and laughed at her like, "What's your problem, lady?" So anyway, I thought that was funny, but otherwise, she's out of her mind. But I was happy I bought my gold, and we'll go from there. Anyway, so again, you're trying to buy things that will hold their value. We see what's happening. I saw Bitcoin's down to like 52,000, down 2,000 today. There was an unemployment or a jobs report, whatever. And somebody says, "What's going on?" Well, there's a jobs report today. I go, "That doesn't affect gold." Well, the stock market's down. I go, "Yeah, but that doesn't affect gold. Gold's controlled by comex. It's controlled by the derivatives. There is no market for it. There is no the jobs reports controlling it." So I just kind of laughed at it like, well, so the stocks went down and they're going to crash and people will be Madoff. "Oh, I can't believe Madoff was Ponzi scheming me." How'd you think he made 15% every freaking month? What are you, nuts? Even if he's legitimately picking stocks, he's going to have some that he loses. He's going to have some that he breaks even on. He's not going to be up every month. Are you insane? So you obviously don't understand what you're doing if you believe Madoff actually knew what he was doing and actually was picking stocks and going 100%. So that brings us to some video. So Mark McGuire did his video today. I think you'll like it. It was very good. No guest. They're better with no guest because he gets to the point. The guest, I don't understand what he's trying to do. I think he's just trying to sell to get viewers. And, I honestly, I think that's all he's doing. So it's titled China.
I realized that I was struggling with some food sensitivities, and I was tired of guessing what was upsetting me, so I decided just to take
appreciation a mandate. Let's put the bigger.
This is called China's Gold. China to ignite a $1 trillion golden avalanche. This is golden avalanche of China. So pretty good one. It's 40 minutes. Somebody puts in the comments, "Don't make them that long." And, I don't worry how long I go because you can watch a half hour of it and go golfing, go play, and come back and watch another half hour. or get to the point of what you want. Especially when I do football, there's so many teams. I'm just going right down the schedule. So it's not, I have no choice for football. Here we're talking about certain things. And, you can read the transcript and just, you can watch a half hour, an hour and learn. And then, so I'm trying to cut it to like an hour and a half, but it's all important. Like brics, I title it brics Gold Back Currency October 22nd. So you don't even have to watch the video if that's your point of interest. But I'm teaching a lot of what economics and free markets are. So it's very interesting. So I think you want to watch it. But I never worry about the time, because if it's an important topic that we're talking about, and most of us are, then I'm going to then just watch 30, 40 minutes and then, or get to the point of what you want to watch and go from there. But I'd rather talk too long and cover a lot, and then you decide that I got to do only 45 minutes, and then I don't say things that are important. So I don't care about that. So let's get to Mark McGuire at about the 10-minute mark.
Picture into context, and it's mind-boggling. The bigger picture, I think it really helps to put that into context. So last Tuesday, this story here that you can see on the Bloomberg terminal,
Sorry.
it really piqued our interest. It cited Eurozone capital Stephen Yen warning of a potential avalanche of dollar selling as Chinese owners of dollars assets divest these dollars into Fed rate cuts. So what he said was, his words, think of an avalanche, he said.
Avalanche.
By no coincidence, while not an avalanche quite yet, the dollar selling that we have evidence is already underway. And while the mainstream has not yet made the connection, these so far stealthy dollar sales also jives with Beijing's officially reported gold purchases. It's a question of connecting the dots. But as you know, Shane, our focus is on the much larger unreported dollar-denominated, bilaterally settled, unreported monetary gold accumulation footprints, which our reliable contacts say are also transacted by state-held banks in proxy. So as the comex swamp gets slowly drained, these massive central bank flows of 400-ounce bars from west to east are being revealed.
Yes, Andrew, this is exactly something that very few people are reporting right now. And you credited Gainesville Coins for being one of the very few to dig into these very large monetary gold outflows. But to answer a ton of questions on this unreported subject, can you refresh us on the sheer size of these unreported central bank monetary gold purchases?
Yeah, it's huge. Shane, so especially as these unreported, as I say, bilaterally settled monetary gold purchases, they rail against reports that China had paused their central bank purchases. We kind of looked at that last time. I mean, this obviously suits China very well, as it opens up opportunities to prey on the blinkered, led by the nose comex traders being tricked by the Fed into regular Les clockwork, throwing in the towel. And as we see again now, as we've seen it in the last few days, and really because comex momentum traders, they don't like sideways action. They want a direction, and they're just all in. They're not. There's no skin in, other than their 4%. There's no other skin in the game. They're just chasing momentum, and they're once again being gaslighted into coattailing the Fed into making blind bets against synthetic gold. Something they would not do if they had any view into how tight the physical markets are. And once again, they're being set up as patsies. Now, to answer your subscribers' questions, though, Shane, we've previously assessed that only a very small percentage of these 400-ounce 995 dollar-denominated Basel III compliant monetary gold FX purchases are captured in the export customs data. And again, we credit Gainesville and the World Gold Council for this. But because these $1 million per bar transactions are bilaterally settled, then they land in any one of some 47 customs entry gateways alongside 4,000 customs clearance control stations. By design, it is impossible to track the scope of all the PBOC's monetary gold purchases, especially when they're purchased by proxy. Furthermore, imports of artisanal doré gold are hidden in the dollars for gold mix. PBOC buying of all home-produced gold is largely transacted in RMB, which, for reasons we will look at now, is expected to strengthen into an avalanche of dollar sales. Now, as Jen assesses, Chinese firms have amassed more than $2 trillion since the pandemic in offshore investments, parked in assets that really pay higher rates than yuan-denominated ones. And when the Fed lowers borrowing costs, the appeal of dollar assets erodes, and at best estimate potentially spurs, as he puts it, a conservative $1 trillion of flows back home as China's rate discount with the US narrows up. Now, as we assessed in our last few episodes, our liquidity providers have been confirming dollar selling to acquire gold, notably picked up in 2010, directly after the IMF refused to sell the PBOC the 200 tons of remaining IFM gold, which followed India being sanctioned to buy 200 tons directly from the IMF at $1,000 per ounce. Now, as we've since been tracking, these largely unreported monetary gold purchases, picking up after the dollar was weaponized against Russia in March 2022, much of it being transacted in very, very large oil for gold trades, but visibly and officially reported picking up in the last 18 months. That cannot be hidden. Now, however, given if we put this fresh de-dollarizing Fed rate cut aside for a moment, which is about to trigger an avalanche, as he puts it, of dollar selling, the de-dollarizing process has already picked up significantly ahead of October the 22nd BRICS gold currency launch. Now, while such an avalanche of dollar sales would also serve to support the yuan, as we drew attention to in our last episode, liquidity providers have also been reporting this very large pickup in direct bilaterally settled dollar-denominated monetary gold, 400 ounce, 995 bars, exiting largely London, also Switzerland, but largely. But we've also, in addition to that, there are as yet unreported fresh official gold purchasing that is occurring, and that'll be reported later, into an expectation of a strengthening yuan. It makes sense. And aside from what briefly appeared on the Bloomberg terminal, as yet, this story has not yet even gone mainstream, and I don't think it will. However, our well-connected Chinese contacts say it was no coincidence that White House National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan concluded a 3-day trip to Beijing last week, comprising of several meetings with Chinese officials, including Xi Jinping. And while the officially reported agenda, the items, they range from Beijing's warning against the US Army Taiwan, South Sea disputes, the aggressive sanctions on China, including those related to Ukraine. Election interference was one of the subjects. But really, the unreported elephant in the room was the BRICS-related de-dollarization avalanche referred to by Steve and Jen, and the realization that these dollar sales will largely be parked in first-tier physical gold. This puts the Fed, the only remaining global central bank betting against gold, between a rock and a hard place. Furthermore, the scale of this de-dollarization process is even then grossly underestimated. And if you recall, 2 years ago, we drew attention to a little reported 2022 Bloomberg news item that revealed former US Trade and Treasury official Brad Setzer. He was concerned that China's reported 3.24 trillion of foreign exchange reserves comprised only half of what he estimated as closer to 6 trillion, which he expressed as really, and his words were exactly, presenting a new risk to the global economy. He also revealed that China's deliberate lack of transparency posed the West a major problem. He remarked, because China structurally is so central to the global economy that anything it does, seen or unseen, will eventually have an enormous impact on the rest of the world. Okay, those are his words. Now, Setzer's comments had verified our assertions that around half of these additional 3.24 trillion of unreported shadow banking reserves are salted amongst the state commercial lenders, which is what he says so. However, what he doesn't really clarify is that given that monetary gold reserves are also categorized as foreign exchange reserves, the only question we had posed our well-connected Chinese liquidity providers was how much of this massive multi-trillion shadow banking pile salted inside the state-held banks comprised of FX gold that had been converted into physical bars. Now, their assessments suggest the PBOC gold salted amongst the state-held banks had to exceed in excess of 40,000 tons. We talked about this before, which when added to the 25,000 odd tons of ring-fenced citizens gold, which gold that is sticky and cannot be exported, but in a time of war, Beijing could ultimately muster up combine those and muster up really essentially about 65,000 tons of gold, realistically. And then if you add in Russian and other BRICS gold, then the BRICS nations could monetize some 80,000 tons of gold. These are real numbers, and it's just a question of following the footprints. Think about this. Weigh this up against the 8,134 tons of gold that the US Treasury lays dubious claim to. I mean, that's because it's so suspect, because of all the audit requests over the last 50 years, they've all been refused, which is ludicrous. Whereas this enormous disparity against this huge hoard of BRICS-centric gold, which actually comprises of 100% fully paid for physical gold, presents zero counterparty risk, unlike the Fed. So add this into the avalanche of visible Chinese dollar assets, the unfactored over 3.24 trillion of hidden, unregulated, bilaterally settled Chinese shadow banking reserves that Setzer has exposed, then this avalanche is potentially so large it threatens to topple the 2 quadrillion derivative market and indeed presents a risk to the global economy, unless, that is, the Western central banks, including the Fed, revalue gold, which, other than starting World War III, deliberately triggering that, revaluing central bank gold reserve accounts is actually a very simple procedure. Now, it does concern me that they may want to start World War III because the US dollar hegemony, unipolar US dollar hegemony, is toast. Now, given Setzer currently sits on the board of the Council of Foreign Relations, which is a body that GATA has exposed, particularly Chris Powell has drawn a lot of attention to the fact this is an organization they've exposed as being one of the primary actors behind the last 50 odd years of dollar gold interventions. And it's not surprising this golden elephant in the room was hidden. But China is threatening to break its chains. Now, the reason I wanted to revisit this shadow banking subject again now is the sanction crosshairs have aggressively shifted to China. And while they hold all the de-dollarization cards and an upcoming BRICS currency to play them into, there is no requirement for the PBOC to employ the financial nuclear option of dumping US treasuries, officially dumping them. However, that's one hell of a big hammer to hold. So instead, it's simply incentivizing Beijing to move from stealth to pushing back against the US current. And the US is operating a carrot and stick approach, which is exactly what that visit to China backfired on the US last week. You can't do that. You don't have a strength of position. And so anyway, so this carrot and stick approach really trying to stop the conversion of these dollar assets. But what it's going to do is reignite, it has reignited the not yet reported official buying, which will later be reported as having been triggered, alongside continued bilaterally settled 400-ounce monetary gold shadow banking purchases, which are off the record. Now, given Basel III NSFR standards have recategorized gold as a competing first-tier asset class, it forces the West when we see the buyers coming in, the AM fixes, the PM fixes, it forces, but primarily the AM fixes, which are really Asian facing, it forces T+1 delivery of synthetically undervalued global FX gold purchases, emptying Western vaults into the PBOC's state-held bank coffers.
Now, Andrew, this is absolutely huge. As you say,
So what that means is like all these derivatives that the U.S. is doing, China's calling on it. If they call for delivery, the U.S. has to do it in T+1 day. So the U.S. does this little bullshit derivatives at the end of the day, knocking it down to 2,500 from 2,525. China says, I'll take delivery. And so that's what's happening is they don't have, they're draining all the gold out and China's getting more. China, 65,000 tons. Now, I'm not sure he's right. I thought Russia had like 25,000, probably unreported. And then India's probably got 10,000 tons. And Saudi Arabia's got a lot of gold. So probably like 100,000 tons that BRICS has. So they'll go on the gold standard, so just look at it. They got all the gold. We don't have any. Who's fucked in this scenario, right? No, it isn't China, Russia, and BRICS. So this remains to be seen. But this is what Mark McGuire tells us. So let's see a little bit more, Mark. And it's a good video today. He does get into silver, which we'll get into after this in a minute.
Organization of the USD, fresh US and EU sanctions against China are driving Beijing to focus it on its trade with a rapidly expanding group of BRICS nations traded in the currencies of these nations. From what you were reporting, it suggests that last week's U.S. visit to China may have further inflamed tensions. What are you hearing from your contacts on this topic here?
Yeah, Shane, when you think about it, the sheer arrogance of that US unipolar carrot and stick approach, China anchors and faces the multipolar BRICS nations, and this is the global majority who produce or consume something like 85% of all the global trade. Amongst themselves, China has become the world's largest trading nation, period, dominating global trade, just as its share of US trade in dollars is actually contracting. There's not a strong position for the US to play against. And while Westerners focus on the intraday and intra-week market swings, in gold I'm talking about, and other markets as well, China takes a more pragmatic, longer-term view. And with all lessons learned following the weaponizing of the SWIFT banking system against Russia in 2022, China is increasingly encountering friction relating to Taiwan and facing down the US in the South side China Sea too. And these geopolitical escalations are not going unanswered. Not just what we see in the currency crosses where China swaps dollars for NSFR compliant gold, but China is now also sanctioning US businesses providing arms sales to Taiwan.
Now, we looked a little while ago at how we make adjustments to really the most important is the FX gold price, which is NSFR compliant and a first-year asset class. Whereas, and it's unleveraged in the sense it has to be physically deliverable. So what we also do is we track those lower down. So this 25.3150 happens to be today. Again, it's contracting by about $1 a day, but currently today at this hour, it is currently the 2500 spot, which is where central bank bids are also sitting and have been triggered and will also be triggered again on the way back up, is at 25.3150 today. Now, I think what's interesting, and we'll look at the reason for this as well, we have not seen, up until today, we have not seen a single AM fix, and there's been 11 consistent AM fix, all the way up to today, 11 all above 2,500. Why? Because they were trying to front run them. There wasn't enough. What they had to do is wait for the stock market to really crash for CTAs who use gold as a first tier asset class, in other words, a hedging mechanism for their risk positions, and into the stock market sell-off, which we've seen here. What we've seen is also, and this is silver, but it's the same with gold. We've seen, obviously, what they've done is use those hedges, sold these hedges to protect this fall. So they're using gold for what it should be used for. And even though, in this case, it's synthetic, it's leveraged, but so are their positions on the stock market. So this just happens to be the S&P. We're just trying to explain, how these hedges work. And we see the same in gold, where you can see the collapse in, and this happens to be S&P again in gold, NASDAQ as well.
Let's go to.
And this is where what this selling is actually.
I don't like these charts.
Officials had generally front-run them being filled. And while insiders are trying to game as much uncertainty as possible ahead of non-farm payrolls on Friday, the Asian-facing AM fix today was an absolute gift. Now it's pretty clear the end of the week, end of month selling that we saw on Friday ahead of the thin market holiday, really. That had to wait for really the AM fix at that point to clear before they smacked it down. But as we've just pointed out, the CTA stop hunting selling always commences at the pit open and then waits, and really usually waiting for the fix to settle before known central bank bids, looking for a tag of 2,500 at the PM fix really look to fill. They then short cover, but only to the extent that they can short cover into CTA capitulations. Now, these old tactics may trick out 96% leveraged paper traders to settle their paper bets for cash, but outside the bubble COMEX world, the gold is actually being settled by way of physical delivery, capitalizing on these synthetic discounts. Now look at the farce in silver. Really, the real target was the in-delivery September silver contract, which went off the board but is now in delivery. Now this is the December contract, so the September contract is actually, they have basically a full month to the end of this month to deliver on that contract. And we've seen this contract backwardated by as much as $13.80 to spot. So, I mean, that is a huge backwardation. And right now we're looking at it, it's around about 6 cents, just around 6 cents, but it's been as high as $13.80. So you can see that this is the spot price right here. And this is the fact that it's actually, the spot price is above the September contract. That means that they're having trouble getting out of that contract. So yeah, it's volatile, but we've seen it as high as $13.80. That should not be happening. And we saw 596 tons of comex deliveries into the spot premium, illustrating the selling is comex driven into a consistent spot silver premium. Insiders have managed to rinse out sufficient specs to start short covering into these guys sub 28 spot. Now 28 spot is because there's a 33 cent premium in the December contract to spot because of the carry cost, very similar to gold. So that's the round number here. We've seen it breached yesterday. We've seen the COT cutoff. We've seen it breached again, and now we've seen it this morning, and now we see it again above. This two-way action here is just really allowing the insiders to short cover. Really, this is a joke. Given how strong Indian and Chinese silver demand is, this action is a farce. But outside the paper-settled casino world, silver is shouting out an opportunity. Where do we think the worst-case scenario is? Well, we see short covering now here, but really the top of the range was around about 32.28. And again, I've stripped these charts down so that we're looking at just the main drivers. But I think that this would be probably this confluence here of this outside trend line here, which is actually a 25% trend line of this fork, and this 25% bull pivot. I think that's probably the worst case scenario. I would certainly think that would be, if you're a stacker, that's probably not a bad place to be looking. I don't know if they're going to dare do that. This is the action reaction line. Just so you know, the stops in silver, we've looked at the stops in gold. The stops in silver at 32,750. Watch out above once they get cleared, and they will get cleared.
So really, in summary, Shane, as we drew attention to really during the last week of the first quarter, if you remember, when we were watching the breakout occur in gold, we noted a distinct change in behavior back then around the Asian-centric Chinese-driven AM gold fixes, which we've kind of looked at in the charts. With Indian buyers having switched horses to silver at higher gold prices, we began evidencing very aggressive Chinese buyers populating this fix. Since then, this action around the usually thinner AM fixes telegraphed an impossible to ignore change in behavior. And with these buyers surgically attacking the paper gold cartel's mantra of selling paper gold at every pit open in the hope they could suck in enough coattailing CTAs to take the bait. And as we've increasingly drawn attention to, the Fed's officially driven paper gold price suppression mandate has become far too obvious. And obviously they're in a position between a rock and a hard place. They're actually serving up the only thing they can serve up in defense until they revalue gold. They are just simply being gamed. And all of this, their efforts are being capitalized on through the exchange for physical conduit, providing a backdoor to the COMEX to allow the exchange of non-compliant 96% leverage COMEX open interest to be forced to be fully funded into NSFR compliant physical gold bullion in London. and Switzerland, etc., etc. This constitutes a huge unwind of COMEX leverage, and at the margin, it's limiting the scope of the Fed interventions, hence the series of higher stair steps. Now, given the breakout gold rally that commenced in February has been assisted by SHFE buying, it's largely been driven by invisible over-the-counter related monetary gold transactions. Sorry to go on about it, but this is so big, and it's just not anywhere. It's not being discussed anywhere. What's confusing the analysts trying to understand the gold rally is that while there has been an increase in the LBMA CME centric flows, they just don't jive with the scale and the rapid gold price rise, and namely what is officially flowing into the central bank coffers. Now, they think it's gone on pause in May. It hasn't. The entire issue leads back to the mainstream media still not understanding the implications of gold being reclassified by the Bank of International Settlements as a first-tier asset class on the 1st of January 2023. This event is what opened up a large increase in unreported bilaterally settled central bank and sovereign monetary gold demand. This means that central bank, sovereign, and institutional bilaterally settled spot gold over-the-counter buying now has to be deliverable. And by its very nature, it's unreported. This opens up spot gold over-the-counter gold purchase to feed central bank monetary gold purchases. The lion's share of this monetary gold is being accrued by the BRICS-related Sino-Russian Gold Alliance, which was established in 2013, but has waited for the fourth quarter to actually pull the trigger. This will be looked back on, that these central bank purchases were being coordinated in concert with Russia and China formally launching the tested BIS-sanctioned M-Bridge platform alongside the absolutely Russian-centric, green-lighted BRICS gold-backed commodity currency, the one that Glasnev outlined. They will trade in tandem. Both will be formally tabled at the BRICS October Kazan summit meeting next month. Well, guys, at risk of overstaying my welcome, there's only one question remaining.
All right, Mark, we hear it. How much physical do we have? Hey, Luke, how are you today? Greg and John. Bring COMEX down, please. More shenanigans today. Says, well, yeah, but they're derivatives. But if your money's in, I see what, Bitcoin's down to 52,000 or something. So on one hand, you're not losing anything, right? And it's because of derivatives, which is on their last straw, because they're going to have to revalue gold coming soon. COMEX, the BRICS meeting, October 22nd. Gold will be, as you just said, on the table for the gold-backed currencies. I did do my part, Luke. I did get a quarter ounce today, 722. It's getting pricey. I had to reprice my inventory. So I have it by ounce, half ounce, quarter ounce, tenth of an ounce, and the ounce I got at about 26.50, but the quarter ounce I had at like 675, and now I raised it to 750. The tenth of an ounce was about 300, and the half ounce was about 14 something. So I went to the store. He had no ounces. He had a few half ounces, and then 3 or 4 quarter ounces. So I grabbed the prettiest one, and I was happy. It's always fun when you can add some gold to your to the family. I told the girls, hey, we got a new family member here, another quarter ounce. So we know it's just a matter of time. It's going to be. I told the guy today, well, we're headed for 3,000 an ounce. He looks at me, and I go, oh yeah. Trust me, I told you it was going to 2,500, and you didn't believe me. So we're going to 3,000. So we will see. I mean, but it's shenanigans, Luke. It's derivatives. You know what's going on in it. So again, silver was at 29, and it at the same time this derivative in gold happened, which is roughly noon to 2, roughly 9 to 2. And from 29 to 27.70 or something. It was ridiculous. Same exact graph. Amazing how that happens. So at least we're at about 2,500. Going up. They're just playing games. But what Mark said is at 25, we can get to 25. I think it's 32. Then we're going to see 26. And they keep fighting us. They got to 25, 25, 25, 29. And they keep fighting us and they keep knocking it, but they won't have enough left. We'll just keep trying to get that price. And then when it goes, it's going to go pretty high. So we'll see 2,600. Yeah, I really don't understand what the U.S. is doing. Okay, we'll do derivatives to get the price down to 25. So for who cares? What does that matter? They're losing their ass because the derivatives, these options always finish out of the money because they have to get down to like 24 or 25. Well, they're never going to get there. 24, 50, 90, and they go back to 25. So what the hell are they doing? Still doing they're still hoping that the gold price goes down. When get out of the way, and that's where our frustration is, Luke. Is we're going let's go, but we know where it's going, so we just have to let the little game happen. It's like a football game. Let's take the Steelers, right? It's just a matter of we know they're going to win, but the other team's going to get a first down. The other team's going to score. They kick a field goal. They get an interception. But at the end of the day, we know we're going to score and we're going to win. All right. And that's what it is. But there is times of the other team coming back. And that's what you have here. We know at the end of the day, gold's going, 3,000 soon, 5,000 soon. They'll revalue it soon. But we just got to watch the game, the other team doing their little shit. But again, it's the U.S. has to, rebalance their gold, or what's the term? Revalue it. And if they don't, they're fucked. So you'll see a $3,000 or $5,000 gold price. And then more importantly, so what he said was that China's got 65,000 tons of gold now. He said Russia and China have another 15,000, but I don't buy that. Russia, I thought, had 20. Who knows what China has? And then Saudi Arabia, let's add them to the game. So you're looking at quite a bit. A few other videos I saw. There's one on Saudi. I think I showed Mark McGuire or Egon yesterday.
If you see your state, you can register online to vote right now. It only takes...
Staying with inequality for just a moment, because it's such a big theme in the current electoral cycle. Once again, wealth, poverty, and politics. Quote, the welfare state, which, by the way, is the recourse of virtually everybody who's concerned about inequality. Let's redistribute from the rich to the fine. So we expand the welfare state. And you argue, quote, the welfare state reduces the incentive.
I don't know what this has to do with Saudi Arabia.
Capital and receiving the products of Other people's human capital, that is getting money from the rich if you're poor, is by no means as fundamental as developing one's own human capital. Close quote. What is human capital, and why does the welfare state suppress the incentives to develop it?
Well, human capital is the ability to create the material things that constitute wealth. People have been puzzled by the fact for a long time that after a major war with huge destruction, once peace is restored, the economy gets restored often in a very few years. I think Western Europe after World War II, everything that was there was bombed, and they wonder why. How can that be? And John Stuart Mill explained this back in the middle of the 19th century, that the material things are going to be used up and wear out, whether there's a war or not. And so it's really the ability to reproduce them, to operate those things, to maintain them, and then reproduce them as necessary. That's the real wealth. And so when you destroy the physical wealth, you really haven't done as much as if you destroyed the human capital. A classic example, in the 1970s, Uganda decided that the Gujaratis from India.
I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm reading the title, and it's got nothing to do with Saudi Arabia. Let's see. I was watching this.
A grand 5-star European hotel, Asia's situated 15 kilometers south of the urban district of Baodi in Tianjin, amidst wheat fields and forests, stands a cluster of European-style structures. Hidden beneath the verdant canopy, this villa complex, known as the largest villa area in Asia, is called the Jingjin City. However, since its opening more than a decade ago, its occupancy rate has remained extremely low. The place has earned its nickname as the largest ghost villa in Asia. So, what could be the reason for such a massive empty city located between Beijing and Tianjin, two megacities? In 2001, Tianjin's Baodi district planned the ambitious Jingjin City, covering over 4,100 acres. Designed for a population of 500,000, it includes residences, entertainment, and facilities for day-to-day living. The new city boasted plans for 8,000 villas, a grand 5-star European hotel, Asia's largest hot spring city, a substantial commercial center, and even a sprawling temple. Positioned centrally between Beijing, Tianjin, and Tangshan, Jingjin City is 110 kilometers northwest of Beijing's city center, 50 kilometers south of Tianjin, and 80 kilometers east of Tangshan. Initially developed by Guangzhou-based Hobson Development Holdings Limited in 2004, the company has invested over 20 billion yuan in the project to date. The grand entrance to the villa complex, reminiscent of the Arc de Triomphe, can accommodate 10 cars side by side. However, after constructing 3,000 villas, the project halted. The hotel, hot springs, and temple were subsequently completed. Sadly, due to the lack of foot traffic, these massive investments have not yielded any returns, and the area is now primarily used as a popular backdrop for influencers and wedding photography. It was rumored that a major selling point for Jingjin City was a station on the Beijing-Tianjin Intercity Railway, which was then under construction. However, due to changes in Tianjin's development plan, when the railway launched in 2008, the station shifted from Baodi to Wuqing. Not only did the anticipated transportation benefits not materialize, but promised amenities like commercial zones also never came to fruition. Essentials like markets, schools, and hospitals are several kilometers away in a nearby town, making life inconvenient. Consequently, many homeowners who purchased properties there quickly moved away. Some netizens who visited found the area eerily quiet and deserted, especially after dark. Property prices in this new city have plummeted from millions to hundreds of thousands. Due to the affordable prices, which are almost a quarter of those in Beijing, numerous buyers were still attracted. To them, purchasing a villa for such a price was akin to fulfilling the American middle-class dream. A few years ago, during a hot real estate market, it was rumored that 90% of the villas here were sold, but the occupancy rate was less than 10%. Subsequently, other real estate developers tried their luck in Jingjin City, but failed to boost its popularity. Although the anticipated Beijing-Tianjin intercity railway station didn't materialize, a station on the Beijing-Tangshan Railway, which opened last year, has rekindled some hope for homeowners. However, revitalizing...
So you have a malinvestment there. It's like electric cars. You created this whole city without demand, right? So you just made it. Obviously, nobody wanted it, or nobody wanted it at the price they were selling it. This is a big problem. You're trying to sell ribs at $45 a slab, and nobody wants it. It's too expensive. So China fucks up again. See, this is the problem people have. They don't understand. You don't build it and hope people come. You let, Say's law, you let people tell you, I want something here, and then you build it. So it sounds like what they did is perfect malinvestment. They go to build it before anybody wants it, based on, oh, wait, there'll be a railroad coming through, or there's no markets, there's no, hospitals. Who wants to live there? So this is a perfect example of you fucked up, you wasted trillions of dollars. That, it's just amazing how stupid they are. This was a year ago. I'm not going to play this. Why China is on the brink of its biggest crisis in decades. Yeah, they came out of it okay. They got 65,000 tons of gold. See, if you have gold, you can survive anything. When you don't have gold, you don't. Here's a new one. Let's take a look at it. Banking crisis hits Hong Kong, surpassing financial crash levels. Is there a banking crisis in Singapore, Pat? Let's go into Hong Kong.
If you're getting old like me and you want to sell your home near Detroit or anywhere on this map for
Shut the fuck up.
The rows of closed shops on the streets of Hong Kong tell a bleak story. This once bustling economic hub is now visibly declining. Before the pandemic, these commercial areas were packed with people. Now, only a few passerby remain, and the former hustle and bustle is gone. How deserted.
I'm a little confused because when I read it, it says 1 hour ago. But are they talking about when the pandemic hit, or are they talking about today? Reading it as 1 hour ago, I kind of look at it as this is going on now. But that seems like it's now, so we'll keep going.
On the streets of Hong Kong right now, this is Granville Road in Tsim Sha Tsui on a Monday, a tourist area that used to be a prime location where it was hard to find a store available for rent. Today, I'm going to show you how many shops have closed down. I filmed this around 12 noon, which is typically when most stores are open, so the chance of them being closed is quite low. Just on the street alone, 37 stores have closed down, and this number might not even be accurate, since I didn't count the ones upstairs. The actual number could be higher. The situation for brick and mortar stores in Hong Kong is bleak. The high rents have crushed the future of physical stores here. Apart from a few tourist areas that still get some decent foot traffic, other places are barely seeing any customers. The iconic neon.
So the question is this all Amazon, where people are on the internet and doing their shopping versus going into the store? I'm one who goes into the store. I hate Amazon. However, I just, went to the grocery store today. Just got some avocado stuff. I'm not going to order that on Amazon, but I'm just curious, is that what's happening? Some neighbors I had they'd get water from Amazon and stuff, and obviously cheap, but then you got to pay for shipping. So I always found it a bit confusing what's really going on, because we are changing from the brick and mortar, going into the store, buying it and coming home, to people are so lazy they just order Amazon or they do DoorDash, and well, that's kind of the restaurant. The carryouts are carryouts. When we go to Capitol Grill, you can't DoorDash that. But yeah, I mean, that's how I view it. It's going to be, is this because Amazon and the internet, or is this, or what's the reason, or is it just nobody's can afford it and everybody's moving out and the city's dying? Pat, officially no banking crisis in Singapore. I'm sure the problems are hidden away from public here. Yes, Luke, the house of cards is in collapse now. Yeah, and you can see one of the banks going down here. Well, it's coming very soon. Again, this is like China. They're hiding it from us. So you don't know if you go into Chase Manhattan what's really going on. But I can tell you what's going to cause it to go down is people not paying their loans. Because again, that's how a bank works, right? You give them money, they give you interest, they take your money and invest it, and that's how they make their money. They need good investments, so they need the loans, or the real estate loan, or the commercial loans for the businesses, and or the home loans, and or the car loans. That's how a bank makes money. So they've got to be very good at making their loans. Otherwise, they are fucked. So they're very good at hiding them. But I think it's coming very soon, Luke. I think by October, I think we'll hear a whole lot of shit. So brace yourself. That's why I ran and bought more gold today. It's like, well, fuck it. We don't have a lot of time left. And believe me, once October 22nd hits and they go, we're announcing a gold-backed currency, or however they're going to do it. And maybe they launch it then, or maybe, well, we're going to launch it in a month or two. I don't know. But that's the end, because basically you're trying to run an economy with money that's shit. And that's really the problem. How are you going to run your economy if you don't have money? There's no medium of exchange. How do you get paid, and how do you buy things? That's why you can't fuck around with your dollar. Now, I was watching this thing. Let me play a little bit more, and I'm going to show you something in Amsterdam with the mafia. And that'll convince you that there will never be a CBDC, or it'll be in parallel. Because what the mafia is doing, getting all the money for the drugs, how are they going to be in business without money, without cash? You think Don Corleone's going to sit there and go, well, let's see, he's got all this heroin. We'll take his CBDC card, which will be tracked, and everybody will know he bought, 10 tons of heroin from us. No fucking way. If you think the mafia is going to let CBDCs come in, you're out of your mind, because they control everything, and they are not going to allow that. So they might be CBDCs. It's probably going to be like Bitcoin. You can buy Bitcoin, but they're still dollars. They're like, this is not going away. Well, this is, but there'll be a USD2 or a gold-backed currency. The paper money will never go away, because the mafia will never let it go. Let's watch a little of that, and I'll take you to Amsterdam.
Signs of Hong Kong are almost all gone. In just a few years, Hong Kong has changed so much that I barely recognize it. Even on weekends, Lang Kwai Fong is nearly empty, except for a few foreign customers. This is in a central tourist area. It's even worse in residential areas of Shuangwang. Hong Kong's economy might really be in trouble. After years of political reforms by the Chinese government and the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic, many believe Hong Kong's economy would recover this year. However, recent data from S&P Global Ratings shows otherwise. In May, Hong Kong's Purchasing Managers Index dropped to 49.2. This marks the third month in a row that it has stayed below the critical 50-point mark. This suggests that business expectations remain grim, dealing another blow to the economy. Wholesale and retail business owners are saying that the situation is still dire, with little hope for improvement.
Recently, 190,000 people have left Hong Kong, and the total count is now 530,000. Out of those, 83% are middle class. This is the reality of Hong Kong. My store is right here, and I'm barely managing to pay rent. I'm planning to move back to mainland China to continue my business. I still have some high-end furniture and appliances in the store, so if anyone's interested, feel free to come and take a look.
Mr.
Let's
Zhang,
go.
who has run a wholesale fabric business in Shamshui Po since 2008, once thrived thanks to China's economic boom. His business used to receive a steady stream of orders from both mainland China and overseas. But as production costs in China went up, many Western brands moved their manufacturing to Southeast Asia. At the same time, the economy in both mainland China and Hong Kong has remained.
Okay, have you heard about this dental implant provider that was
Shut
somehow
the
able
fuck
to make getting
up.
permanent
Right in the
digital
middle of
implants
those sentences.
affordable?
Shut up.
The economy in both mainland China and Hong Kong has remained weak, leading to a sharp drop in demand for wholesale fabrics. Mr. Zhang said, after the pandemic, it feels like the economy hasn't recovered at all. This year's revenue has improved a bit, but it's still down by 50% compared to pre-pandemic levels. Back then, business was good enough to live on, but now it's really bad. The overall economic situation is tough. Many of my long-term clients have disappeared, and some have even gone out of business, so sales have fallen. He also mentioned that poor sales have made him more cautious when buying new stock, leading him to cut his purchases by half. Many fabric wholesalers are in the same position, which has significantly impacted the entire supply chain. The fabric wholesale industry is struggling, and the garment wholesale industry isn't doing any better. Mr. Lee, who has been in the denim wholesale business in Hong Kong for over 40 years, is facing a crisis he's never seen before.
So as everybody can't find jobs, they can't buy anything. That's what's happening in Hong Kong. So there's no buyers because people aren't working in China. As China collapses, so when China's booming, people can buy. They go here and they buy all the goods, and the lady can sell her stuff. But as the economy weakens, and that will be here too, you don't have any buyers because nobody's working, so nobody can afford to buy it. And therefore, these shops go out, and there's more depression and chaos because my business is failing. So I got to go out of business, which leads then I can't buy things, which leads to other people going out of business. This is the problem when you have communism come in and try to fuck everything up. Which leads to the question, which I just thought of was the COVID planned to destroy China? Because they shut down everything, and now look what's happening to China and now Hong Kong, where everybody's going out of business because after COVID, they were all locked down. They couldn't work. It's never recovered, which would almost seem like that would be the plan is we'll lock everybody up. Then business goes down. And once business goes down, it's in ruin. So was that the plan of COVID? It didn't happen here, but it's starting to. We're starting to see a recession, but mostly that's from the inflation. That's from the money printing. But just food for thought. Is that what happened or not? Now let's go to Amsterdam.
Clip to alert their members to the risks they take when working.
This is the drug traffic in Amsterdam.
But what's his reputation? Bad. Angry. I say that it's like a monster like a devil. People are still afraid of him even though he's in there. Het is normaal. Hij heeft nog steeds zijn werkers lopen. Hij kan nog steeds mensen aansturen. Het is gewoon een hele machtige persoon met heel veel geld. Dus je moet heel goed uitkijken wat je zegt en wat je doet. Want hij laat je gewoon vermoorden als het moet. En hij ligt er niet wakker van.
A few months after this interview, the Mokro Mafia attacked the highest level of the state. Prime Minister Mark Rutte had just announced that he was going to give an exceptional budget of 430 million euros to help the police fight against drug traffickers. It was after this announcement that the police discovered that Mocro Mafia spotters had started to follow him. The politician, who used to be close to his fellow citizens and travel by bicycle, was immediately placed under heavy protection.
You don't fuck with the mafia.
To organize the counterattack, the Netherlands turned to Italy, a country that has become an expert in the fight against the mafia. The Dutch Minister of Justice herself went to Rome. For 2 days, she met with magistrates and police officers specializing in the fight against organized crime. She improvised a press conference on the spot with the Dutch media.
Ik wil jou vragen of wij allemaal in Nederland, van Nederlandse burgers, ons heel erg goed beseffen dat georganiseerde misdaad in onze straten zich afspeelt en zich ook heeft genesteld.
She'll speak English
in
in a
in
minute.
Nederland ook minder naïef zijn en ook zien. Die Italiaanse tafereelen spelen zich gewoon af.
She's saying, what are you guys doing in Italy that we can do in
She was
Amsterdam?
appointed Minister of Justice and Security only a few months ago. At 45, she has become the new face of the fight against the cocaine mafia.
In Europe now, everybody discovers the strongness of the narco mafia. Do you think that Netherlands is in the front line now in Europe?
I think we are, because our open economy and our
In a simple plastic bag, 2 kilos of pure cocaine. A small fortune.
Ça représente quoi comme valeur marchande? 50 euros le gramme. Vous pouvez faire vous-même. 50, le type il va pas bien dormir cette nuit.
This trafficker, a Dutchman of Moroccan origin, has just lost 100,000 euros. He was coming from Rotterdam.
So the point of it is they deal in cash. You can see how powerful they are. So how are we going to get out of a cash system when the powerful want the cash system so they can hide everything? So how in the world are you going to go to a CBDC and no cash? It's impossible, because how are they going to pay for the heroin and cocaine? I mean, they got the, they're going to use this. This is how I'm going to pay for it. Not in credit cards, debit. You can't leave a trail. It can't be CBDC. So who's more powerful? The mafia running the country, or the whoever's running the central banks? So I guarantee you, if there is CBDCs, it will be parallel to the money, but there's no way you are not getting out of money. And that's why all the guys losing $100 million, and it's $1 billion industry in Europe and Italy, and here's Amsterdam, and a lot of it's through shipping containers. They were showing Rotterdam's the biggest port in the world, and so they hide it in certain places, and then the drivers take it, and then they drive, and then they and it gets business, and let's face it, Amsterdam, drugs are legal, so you will never get rid of dollars. So at best case, don't worry about CBDCs. At best case, CBDCs will be a parallel like a Bitcoin. We have Bitcoin now, we have dollar now, and I think that worst case scenario, we have a dollar and we have the CBDCs. I don't think we'll have it here, because I don't think the banks will allow it. JP Morgan's got the printing press. You think he's getting out of it so they can do CBDCs? You're out of your mind. So at the end of the day, the powerful, and we know who they are, need the money to be corrupt, right? All the politicians, you think, the lobbyists give them a suitcase with $1 million in it to vote for the thing. You think that's going away? That's why don't worry about CBDCs. Now, is it coming? I have no idea. I really don't care. I'm not going to worry about it. And then you just, here's my out right here. This is my out of CBDCs. Go fuck yourself, CBDCs. It doesn't matter. I got that. So anyway, that's my point on you'll never get out of cash. How are they going to get paid for their drugs? Right? You're trying to do all these drugs and you're making billions of dollars. This is what? Torture chamber and billion euro profits. You think they're going to a CBDC so they can be monitored? Oh yeah, Vito Corleone. Yeah, they look at all the money hitting his account. You think they're going to allow that to happen? Never. So breathe easy that the dollar's not going anywhere. And the crazy part is it's because of the mafia. Will keep us in dollars. So that's good because they want the privacy. It's a pretty good video. It basically shows Amsterdam, just all these people who they're getting killed and all these people who are trying to stop it. But really, it's just business. It's like trying to stop the government. It's business as usual. There's really nothing you can do. Just let it happen. Just don't take the drugs. If you don't take the drugs, then they can't make the money. But you can't try to stop them. They're going to kill you. They're killing these guys, the reporters and the prime minister and all these political things. They're killing them. I mean, they're dead. So, just understand that. So keep that in mind. Don't be afraid of the dollar going out. It ain't going anywhere as long as we have this drug trafficking problem, because they're not going to take credit cards and they're not going to take Well, give me your CBDC card. Yeah, I want to buy. I'm going to buy $1 million of your drugs. Okay, yeah. Just give me the CBDC. We'll swipe it, and they'll know that we did it. Never going to happen. Never in a million years is there going to be only a CBDC. Like I said, it might be the way China buys oil from Saudi Arabia, or the way Russia buys the big, you buy gas or electricity from Russia. Okay, that'll probably be a CBDC or an electric payment or something, which makes sense. They, for the big countries to buy it, yeah, but for the public, we'll be dealing in gold-backed currency. But if you don't think all this illegal mafia stuff's going on, yeah, you got to wake up. I mean, that's what's happening. And there was somebody behind the price fixing of gold. Mark McGuire said, I'll try to find it for tomorrow, and they admitted to it. But really, it doesn't matter. We know what's happening. And keeping the price down, but eventually BRICS, you can't screw with the Russian mafia and the Chinese mafia. They're going to win. So that's I think where you're at. So anyway, very excited. I got some more gold today. Very excited. I had Kansas City under yesterday, which won on a toe. Amazing that Baltimore scored so much. Mahomes made the clutch passes for the touchdown, and Lamar choked. I mean, call it what you will. If Lamar needed to score, if Mahomes needed to score at the end, he'd have scored. Lamar throws 2 bad passes and then hits the guy, and the guy's out of bounds. What the fuck's the guy doesn't know how to keep his toe in? A good receiver would have kept his toe in, but regardless, Lamar didn't perform, didn't get the win, which is all that really matters, and that's why that's why I don't bet on Lamar, and that's why Lamar, to me, this is the problem with Lamar. Nobody's saying he's not a good athlete. Nobody's saying he's not a good runner. He's not a winner, and he's not a good quarterback. That's what I'm saying. So that's what we have tonight. I played the Green Bay Philadelphia game, and I played the SMU BYU game. A full slate tomorrow and Sunday, and I've got a lot going tomorrow and a lot going Sunday. Just FYI. I know this is an econ class, but that's finance. You win, you bet, you win, you buy gold with it. So that's the name of that game. So that's Mark McGuire. Pretty good show today. Again, October 22nd. I mean, Luke, at that point, you won't have to worry about the shenanigans, as you call it. But we all know it's bullshit. We all know everything's bullshit. And we know what to do, and we're prepared. The gold and silver will save us. And, again, he didn't have that much gold. He said he's getting some gold ounces in, but he didn't have them. Like I said, he had 3 or 4 $half, 3 or 4 quarter ounces, and 3 or 4 tenth of an ounces. And that was it. And then he had the gold, like Costco gold bars, which, So, I'd much rather have this over a gold bar. Plus, I can buy this in different sizes. So, anyway, Luke, I might go to Italy. I think we saw some. I saw a video on nice places to go in Europe, and let's see if I can find it. So these are European villages. And there's a couple in Italy and Germany and Spain and Portugal and stuff like that. So I saw a few in Italy that were really breathtaking. So I'm going to check them out and probably go there unless they're very expensive. But the plan's to go in October, so it's away from the summer. So it should still be nice, but the prices should be much lower. I don't know what's going on in Italy. If there's a lot of, if there's a lot of inflation, well, it's the euro. So, yeah, there's a lot of inflation. But, again, with the euro, you got to pay a little bit more. But I think that's what we're going to try. I'm going to check out flights and then hotels and see what we got there. But it's real nice. It's a good video if you ever want to go to Europe and just stay at a nice little village as opposed to going to Rome or, Madrid or, the big cities. These are just beautiful, Hansel and Gretel will meet you there, and you can go to the chocolate house or something. I mean, it's just very beautiful. And when you're near the water, it's really good. Montenegro has some nice places. All of them do. Spain, Italy, Germany, Austria. The first one's Austria. It's just a fucking picture book. Mountains with snow and this nice, beautiful waterfront. So I'm like, yeah, let's go to one of those. We'll see. But that's where we're headed to. Anyway, I think that's about it. So we'll keep an eye on, but Mark McGuire kind of hammered it home. And it's just about breaking up the comex gold. They're on the last leg. They even can't do as much as they were. Again, we've got to break 25.37, I believe. And then it's north to, I don't know if it's north straight to 30, or to 3,000, but there's no support after that number. That's why you keep seeing 25.30, and then it goes back to 2,500. That's the game you're seeing, Luke, is the, the shenanigans. But because once it breaks that, and the same thing with silver, once it breaks 32, I think he said 32.25 or something like that, it's gone. So that's why they don't want to break it. I don't know why, but they don't want it to break. And so they keep pushing it down with these derivatives when it gets close to that. And I think that's what London's helping So when it was 25.25, all of a sudden London's coming in at 6 a.m. You're like, what the fuck are they doing? So it's just a matter of time. It's not really. It's a lot of resolve at 2,500. As we see it go down to 24.90, it shoots right back to 2,500. So where they're pushing it down at 25.30, we're pushing it back at 25, and it's just a matter of time. They're running out of gold to play the game with, and they can't do as much with derivatives as they used to. I know Canada and London are, kind of sticking their nose in, but this is the U.S. This is their last breath, as when Rome went down, right? I'm sure they tried to hold it up, but at the end of the day, they couldn't. And at the end of the day, we can't. So it is going down, and it's just a matter of time till it falls. And so just be patient. I bought, this was 722, and all I could think about was they still have some. It was more important to get it than I could have cared. The price was 722, and I go, well, it's just this shit. So what do I care? But it was just this. Oh, I get to buy more. There's more for me to buy. Was really the point of it versus what the price was. You don't care what the price is. Oh, there's gold. I can buy it. Thank you. That's really what you're trying to get to, and keep that in mind. And then all your Picassos and your Rolexes and your real good assets, they will, like they're doing now. People are selling their gold because they need money to eat or pay bills. You'll do the same thing. People will gladly trade you their goods for gold, just like you're trading your gold for money. You're going to trade assets, Rolex, fur coats, anything that is a nice asset, you will trade it for the gold because you'll need that to eat. So that's really how people will start accumulating gold, is selling their assets that us gold people will say, yeah, that's a nice car for a half an ounce. Yeah, okay. Oh, Ferrari for 2 ounces. Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, that's what'll happen. It'll be, what do you want to spend your gold on? That's what happens. And you won't spend it all. If you have 20 ounces, you'll spend 10, but the other 10 you'll just hold on to, because you'll get so much value with the first 10 that you won't need another 10. But yeah, I would get as much as you can. And then silver, I could have got a bunch of silver, but I'd rather have this. And it's just because I know percentage-wise silver goes up more, but dollar-wise gold goes up more. So when this hits 3,000, silver is still going to be kind of held back. But there'll be a point when the silver explodes also. We know that's coming. You know it, and I know it. We've given the reasons. It's just right now it's very difficult. So keep that in mind, that we know silver's cheap. We know it's being manipulated by these mafia guys from Amsterdam, probably. But again, at the end of the day, what's the drugs going to cost? Well, I don't have all that. I have a quarter ounce of gold. Yeah, you'll be sitting on 10 tons of heroin or something. A quarter ounce of gold. It'll be amazing. But I would, after watching that video, there is no doubt they will not. CBDC might be there, but it'll be like Bitcoin. It will not control us. It will not be it all, and you can't have any. See, that's what they're not telling you. Yeah, CBD is coming, but you're still going to have your dollars. I mean, that's what they're not saying. So they're scaring you into believing it's only going to be CBDC. It'll be the monopoly. And what I'm saying is it won't be. There'll still be dollars, but they don't want to tell you that. So they try to scare you with it. But what are these mafia people going to do? Take CBDC cards? Yeah, okay. So we're going to sell you this heroin for, 20 CBDC points. I mean, no, the dollar's not going anywhere because the powerful will not let it happen. And that's the one good thing about the mafia that we've got to be happy about is they'll keep the dollar around. And really, it's just the thing with that. If people wouldn't buy the drugs, the mafia couldn't do anything, right? They can only do things because people take the drugs. So if people wouldn't take the drugs, they would have nothing to sell. Say's law. Somebody with money wants drugs, there's somebody to sell it to you. That's Say's law. And if people wouldn't demand the drugs, they wouldn't supply them. It's very simple. So it's really the user who takes the drugs that's really the reason. All the mafia is doing is providing the supply for the people that want the demand. Like Luke with his tennis rackets. He sells tennis rackets because somebody will buy them. Otherwise, he couldn't sell them. Or as we saw, the Chinese housing problem or the Hong Kong problem. Well, the Chinese housing, the whole thing's a ghost town because there's no buyers for it. If you can't sell something without the buyer, so there has to be somebody who wants. I want the drugs. I'll give it to you. You can't make the houses if nobody's there to buy the houses. That's not the way economics works. You do the demand first, then you supply the houses. The demand for drugs is there, so you can supply. The demand for houses is not there. What the hell are you doing? That seems like what China does because they're communists and they don't listen to the free market. That's why the free market works and communism doesn't. China's just assuming people will move in, but the price is too high. There's no stores or whatever. There's not the supplementary stuff around there, so nobody's moving in. So it's a ghost town. So you've wasted trillions of dollars building this place there was never demand for. Or you're going to have an exit off the train station that goes 200 miles an hour. Yeah, but that didn't happen. So again, nobody wants to move there. So that's the difference between communism and laissez-faire economics. You do what the supply says. We want drugs, you supply it. You don't make electric cars or houses that nobody wants, or in a housing project that nobody wants. You can't do that. So anyway, keep that in mind. So I feel so much better after watching that. The dollar's not going anywhere because they're not going to do business in credit cards or debit cards. Now with gold-backed currency, they'll probably still do business with that. I'm assured they will. Now, what do you think they do when they get millions and millions of dollars of drug money? Yeah, they're probably doing this too, going, yeah. Okay, Harry, here's $1 billion. Go buy some gold for us because we don't want to keep it in dollars. So anyway, if you go to Amsterdam, I guess just stay low and don't get involved with these markers. So they'll mark you and they'll kill you, and just stay out of their way. If somebody offers you drugs, just say no, thank you, and keep moving, and just bother the girls. Don't go for the drugs. Anyway, so that's about it. Greg and John. So we all know the House of Cards is a House of Cards because they're fucking with the money supply. And that's the problem. And probably they don't realize that they keep printing it, it loses all value. That's probably, they don't quite understand that. We gotta give the mafia some Austrian economic classes and say, no, you gotta back it by gold. You can't keep printing the money and to keep a value. At the end of the day, they're probably behind all this, him and George Soros. So don't be that surprised. Don't be that naive. So that's what's happening. I don't know. I'm not in school, Greg and John, but it's a lot of communism or socialism. All the kids want to have a social. They don't want to work. They want to get money for nothing. They live in mommy and daddy's basement. They don't learn anything. It's terrible. I'm glad I don't go to school now. I'm glad I went when I could get my master's in Austrian economics and learn of what really is going on. And I'm glad about that. And I don't know, but if I had a kid right now, she'd be homeschooled. I would not let her get oriented into the public school system. That's the worst monopoly in the world. The public school system is horrible. Daria's daughter, she's always coming home with all this homework and everything. It's a nightmare. And then Daria's got to help her with the homework, which is what I had to do with my daughters. Was after a long day of work, I got to do algebra homework, huh? Yeah, I don't think so. I need my rest. One thing about me, I need my downtime to recharge my battery. And going from work, eating dinner, and then doing homework once in a while, but not every night. My daughter wouldn't try. I'll wait till dad comes home to do it. I mean, it was ridiculous. That's when I knew school was like they're not letting them think. They're not letting the kids relax. So the kids are up early in school all day, come home, and they got to do homework all night. What is that? Well, they'll get smart that way. They're not going to get smart that way, and they're not going to be critical thinkers. They're not going to have time to think. So I don't know, but it's. I would not have my kid in public school at this point. Anyway, so we shall see soon. Well, it's September 6th. We will see soon the gold price 2,600 and then up to 3,000. There'll be a revaluation of it soon. There's really no option. They have to, and then brics in October. So we know what's coming. So don't worry about it. And we know it'll happen soon. We got the October 22nd date. So it's 6 weeks away. That's why I ran out and bought another quarter ounce. I said, screw it. What good is my money going to be? But I am juggling having the money so I don't have to sell the gold with getting more gold. Again, hoping I don't have to sell it before it really goes. So I'm juggling that. So far I'm doing okay. Football this weekend. So looking forward to a big week. Week 1 of pro, which it already showed me a lot. What I learned from yesterday's game is how good an offense Kansas City has, because Baltimore's got a good defense. And then Lamar still struggling, still wanting to run all the time. But they scored a lot on Kansas City, but it's because they got tired because they're not in shape yet. So we'll see by like week 3, they should be in shape, but these players are not going to be in shape. So we might see some high scores this week as the defense tires out in the fourth quarter. We saw a lot of scoring last night, so we'll probably see that. So most of the games will go over, but not all of them. And we will see. But anyway, I think that's it. The Oakland-San Diego game, I think, will still be low scoring. And then Jamar Chase, now he's game time decision, and T. Higgins is out or hamstring, but we'll see. I think Chase will play. I don't see why he won't. That would be surprising if he's okay. I'm going to practice now. I want to play. Guy like him, he doesn't need a lot of practice. Okay, so I think that's about it. So have a good weekend, everybody. Again, gold's 2,500, ready to go to 3,000 in the next month, and just go buy it. You got to get out of the dollar. The key is getting out of this. Just get out of this. It's worthless. I don't care what they say. The stocks. Oh, let's look at Bitcoin. I think it's 5,200. Let's see, crypto, Bitcoin. Down to 53,880. So as guys bitch about it, it lost 5%, although I don't know what that means. So it was 64,000 recently. So it's dropped $10,000, 11,000. Has gold dropped 11,000? No. This proves my point for it. Where everybody with Bitcoin, oh, you just lost $11,000. But nobody will tell me that. Nobody's in it at 63,000. Now it's 53,000. 64. Now it's 53. Nobody will say that. Everybody bought it at $10 and now it's up to 60. That's all I hear. So I don't hear the guys that bought it at 55, 60, 70. I don't hear any of those guys. Nobody bought it at that, or nobody will admit to it. But keep your eyes on it. It's going nowhere. So that's another reason gold just goes up, because it's gold. You can't print it. Bitcoin, it's again, it's a Madoff thing. Why did it go down? What's causing it to go down? The jobless numbers. Well, what is that got to do with Bitcoin? Nothing. So that's really what you're looking at, is just be careful with that. Stay out of that. Just buy gold and silver. Quit dicking around. Get out of the dollar. Get out of Bitcoin. Just buy gold. It doesn't go down. If it does, it's a little tiny derivative drop of $20, and then it goes up $50 the next day. You want to be in sound money, and the only sound money is gold and silver. So have a good day, everybody. We'll see you 10 o'clock tomorrow morning with football. I don't know if I'll do economics. Maybe on Sunday I'll do economics, but we got football, which kind of rules. Nobody really wants to, they'll watch at 10 o'clock to 12 o'clock, and then it's let's watch the game. So I'm not going to try to fight that. So I'm not sure, Pat, Luke, we can just come into the football and we can answer some questions if you didn't hit them here. All right. Have a good night. www.teaserking.com. Take care, everybody. Enjoy and be safe. Have a happy weekend. All right. Take care. www.teaserking.com. Thank you.